This is The Great Outdoors with Jason White, exploring the great outdoors in Pennsylvania and beyond. Brought to you by the Mariana Outdoorsmen Association and by Wild Acres Farm, Fishery, and Regulated Hunting Grounds. Now, The Great Outdoors with Jason White.
Hello friends, I'm Jason White. Welcome to The Great Outdoors. Pleasure to be with you today. Have a great show. But first and foremost, I want to sit here and go over our sponsors, give them the recognition they deserve. The Mariana Outdoorsman Association. You can join the MOA today at MarianaOutdoors.com. Again, that's MarianaOutdoors.com. If you're looking to have trophy trout fishing, upland bird hunting, the longest rifle range in southwestern Pennsylvania, you certainly need to check them out. Pistol ranges, 5-stand, lots and lots and lots to do. 3D archery, just a lot going on. Again, MarianaOutdoors.com, MarianaOutdoors.com. Wild Acres, if you've never been to Wild Acres, you need to check that place out. If you're looking to book an upland bird hunt, or if you want to do a wild turkey hunt, or if you're interested in a wild whitetail hunt, absolutely no fences, folks. 724-579-0924. Wild Acres Farm, Fishery, and Regulated Hunting Grounds. If you're looking for a great, fantastic hunt, groups of 4 are great for upland bird hunts. Groups of 10 are great for continental pheasant hunts. And then one-on-ones or even small groups in regards to wild turkey and wild whitetail deer. 724-579-0924. Or go to the website, 10mileco.org. Again, that's 10mileco.org. TENMILECO.org. And last but not least, Washington County Travel, Tourism, and Promotion Agency. Visit Washington County, Pennsylvania. We're going to dive in today. I want to go over a few events upcoming for the Mariana Outdoorsman Association. This upcoming Friday at 3 o'clock, there's a trout stalking. We always meet at Wild Acres Farm. We go to the 1997 Morey Road, Clarksville, Pennsylvania, 15322 address. And then we stalk both streams, the 10-mile section and also the Daniels Run. This weekend, March 2nd and the 3rd, is the West Virginia Outdoor Expo. That is at the Milan Park Convention Center, located in Morgantown, West Virginia. Both days we will be there, so please come check that out. That's a great event. I think there's a lot of fantastic vendors, guides, etc. So we will be at Milan Park March 2nd and March 3rd, which is this upcoming Saturday and Sunday. Love to see you, happy to have you, and look forward to hopefully some great conversations. Saturday, March 9th, we have a collective gun cash bash with the Ellsworth Volunteer Fire Department and also the Kochberg Volunteer Fire Department, and that will be at the Kochberg Volunteer Fire Company. Greatly appreciate everybody's help and support with this. Please support our local first responders, but that is going to be a fantastic event. Saturday, March 16th, we will have a booth set up at the Washington County Fairgrounds, the FOAC, which is also known as the Firearm Owners Against Crime. They are hosting a gun bash. We will be there for that, talking to folks about what we have to offer, gun ranges, etc. So, we'll hope to see you there. April the 5th, we will have a trout stalking, same times, locations, etc. April the 6th is opening day of trout season in Pennsylvania, so I hope everybody will get out on the water and enjoy Mother Nature. Hopefully make some positive memories. Let's just keep our fingers crossed that the weather cooperates. Saturday and Sunday, April 20th and 21st, we will have a long-range hunter class. This class is geared at anyone wanting to harvest any animal, I would say 300 yards or farther. It's to give you competency and understanding to know how to be successful at farther distances. You want to shoot at 500 yards, 600 yards. You want to go on a hunt in Montana, Wyoming, Nebraska, etc. This is a great mechanism for you to do that. You can reach out to me at 724-579-0924. Happy to help get you set up for that. It's a great event. Information is also on the Mariana Outdoorsman Association's Facebook page and website. But yeah, awesome 2-day event. Well worth it. If you're looking to shoot far, highly recommend it. I got my dates mixed up here. I apologize. Friday, give me 1 second because I typed it wrong. Yep. Friday, May 3rd and Friday, May 4th. Well, that is a Friday and a Saturday. It's actually going to be the PA Trout Classic. Now, if you're wondering what the PA Trout Classic is, I'm going to tell you. So the MOA is going to be hosting, being the Mariana Outdoorsman Association, going to be hosting a trout tournament. It's a 2-day tournament, $120 a person. Fishermen across Pennsylvania will compete in a trout fishing tournament held at the Mariana Outdoorsman Association. Are you the best fisherman from the east or the west part of the state? I'm not sure, but we're certainly going to find out. We're going to be using approximately 2.5 miles of private fishery. Those locations include Daniels Run. There will be sections that are artificial and sections that are live bait permitted. Same thing goes for the 10 Mile Creek section. It'll be a catch and release tournament. You have to have pinched or barbless hooks. You have to have a fishing net, pliers, and clippers. Artificial and live bait sections, as I said before. There's going to be payouts for first, second, third places based upon largest by fish length. Payouts are based upon total entry participation. It'll be a percentage of that take. Trout are tagged and measured in advance, so that burden and that hassle is totally off the table. You simply remove the tag with a set of clippers. You turn it in at the end of the day by 5 p.m. both days. As of right now, there's 50 spots available. All Mariana Outdoorsman Association rules apply. So when I was talking about the artificial versus live bait sections, those are very simple for you to go on our website, marianaoutdoors.com, and there's like all the rules kind of breaking it down, just basically reiterating what I'm saying right now. The bow streams will be closed both days to host this 2-day event. Additional games of chance are going to be available. Luck of the draw, first day, biggest fish, second day, biggest fish, smallest fish of the tournament, and then there'll be a mystery tag. Must register by May 2nd to participate. Open to the public to participate. Both days, start time is daylight. End time 5 p.m. You must check in and everybody must be back and turned in by 5 p.m. You come in after 5 p.m., you roll in at 5:05, it's not going to count. You got to be back, just like a bass tournament or anything like that. You got to be back into the check station in adequate time. And last but not least, Pennsylvania fishing license is required. Questions or comments, please call us at 724-579-0924. You can register today by going to marianaoutdoors.com. Click on the donation tab, and then you just pay the entry fee and put May Trout Tournament in the comment section. It's very simple. Again, if you got questions, call us at 724-579-0924. Go to marianaoutdoors.com to register. Click on the donation tab, and then in the comment section, you just simply put May Trout Tournament. Certainly look forward to having everybody. Look forward to, everybody being on the water for 2 full days. This is the first time we've done a 2-day event. We've had single-day events, but this is our first 2-dayer, so I'm really excited about it. And then last but not least, just kind of save the date if you would, please. Saturday, July 13th at 9 a.m., we will have our annual golf outing. That is held at Cedarbrook Golf Course, Belle Vernon, PA. So if you'd like to participate, we would love to have you. Again, if you want any information, etc., please go to marianaoutdoors.com. Again, marianaoutdoors.com. I wanted to talk a little bit right now about orchards. That's something I've been working on over the years at the Wild Acres, and I think it's something that's a very important thing. If you're somebody that's looking to improve the habitat Whether you have a small amount of land or a hefty chunk, there are ways for you to incorporate an orchard into your tactics to improving not only the habitat for wildlife, but also if you're trying to get it production for your own consumption or even sale. So I know I've said this in past shows. Certainly, you should first and foremost do some soil samples around your farm and know the lay of your land, know what you're dealing with. You kind of need to know where are the how do I want to describe this to you? You don't want to put fruit trees in places where it's shaded all the time. A lot of fruit trees need a lot of sun. A lot of fruit trees, especially, you need like that morning sun, because even if they get a frost at night, it's good to have that morning sun that kind of warms them and melts any ice, etc., from frost, which actually is a big deal. Why I say that, especially when trees bud, if they get a morning frost, say like in May, that can be devastating to the crop production for the entire year. So knowing your sunrise and sunset locations, I would say number 2 is a very big deal. So number 1, I would say you need to get your soil samples. Number 2, you need to kind of plot out where would be some good spots for you to plant some trees. Look at your sunrise, your sunset locations. You want good sunlight. You want the sun to kind of beat on them as much as possible in many capacities. Some can be semi-shaded. You need to read on what you're buying. Now, when it comes to what to buy, that's a very broad question. There are a lot of orchards. If you simply go to Google on the internet or any other search engine and kind of go look online, or if you go to your local, I would say outdoors-oriented store, a Tractor Supply, a Rural King, a Walmart, etc., Lowe's, Home Depot, most of them, if not all of them, have a pretty good, I would say, stock of fruit trees. It depends what you're getting, what you're looking to achieve with it, but every tree produces at different times of the year. So what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? You need to understand that and answer those questions yourself. Are you just looking to consume fruit? I mean, if you are, then obviously you're not going to be too concerned about what time of the year the fruit production is. There are apple trees, pears, peaches that produce anywhere from June all the way into December. That's a very big range for you to know and understand. Now, rarely are you going to find a tree that's going to produce over a period of time, that span of time, but typically you're going to get about a 6-week window where a tree will effectively produce and be ready for consumption. What I like to do is, number 1, you need to look in the description of any tree that you go and research, because they'll say that they're either self-pollinating or they need a pollinator. If they're self-pollinating, that simply means that you can plant a tree and theoretically it should produce in the future without any other outside forces. If you need a pollinator, what it means is that it needs another tree, basically like a male and a female, for it to cross-pollinate and produce. So typically when those types of trees require that, you need to look on the description at the bottom of the tree itself, and it'll say what other brand trees or species rather are good cross-pollinators. If it requires pollination in that capacity, you have to plant other trees, because if you go and plant a tree and you think in 4 years you're going to get apples, it could be 10 years and you're going to see nothing. You're going to see nothing through the duration of that tree's lifespan. It is critical that you read that in the description of the tree, that if it requires cross-pollination, you have to plan and plant accordingly. And this is just something that you have to do your own little research. So what I like to do is at Wild Acres, I've really planted for wildlife. That's been my function and purpose of what I'm doing. At some juncture, yes, I will collect and consume for for consumption of humans, but for the time being, my number one concern is to gear it towards wildlife. Now, we've talked about soil samples. Those are very critical. You need to know and understand what your soils look like. Number two, understanding the lay of the land. Where's a good spot to plant based upon sunlight? This is very critical for the frost. Number three, understanding what trees you want to buy. What do you need to buy? What we want is not always what we need. So you need to understand what are your goals? What are you looking to achieve? The other thing is, what time of the year do you want these things to produce? Are you looking to have them produce in the summer for your consumption? Are you looking for them to be dropping on the ground in October, November, December for deer hunting? The only person that's going to answer that is you. What are your goals? You have to plan it out accordingly, and you should plan accordingly. Now, okay, you identify where you want these at, where you want to plant. You're looking to plant these trees in places where you want to be between a bedding area and where the deer is going to be going to get the food. So the area that you're going to be, whether it's a tree stand, a hunting blind, etc., you're looking to catch them traveling to that spot. So mental note, when you're laying out your little plan as to what you're trying to achieve or where you want to put these trees, you need to think strategically of, okay, well, where would I want to hunt? I know my sunlight. I know the spots where I would like to hunt. And then you back into where you're going to put them. All right. So what I'm doing right now is I've been planting orchards now for 3 years. It's been a slow and meticulous process. And even for me, it's been a learning curve. I would say once you identify what you want to do, I have 28 trees coming. I have different types of elderberries coming, which are a more warm season type tree, great for like late summer and even into early fall. I'm trying to create more or less a thicket area near a field the deer could consume in the evenings or even at night. So I'm working on that. And then I have 4 different species of apples that I'm going to be planting. And what I'm doing is I have 3 different orchards. So I'm doing a mixed bag with the cross pollinators. So I'm going to be adding to each of these different spots and locations for this upcoming spring. I've identified. So what you're going to need is obviously you place your order for your trees or you buy your trees. But what do you got to do? Okay. So you got your soil samples, you know what trees you want to buy, you buy the trees. You do not just want to go put a tree in the ground. There is a meticulous process to this that'll save you a lot of heartache down the road. And I'm speaking to you from experience because if you do not do these things, you're asking for trouble. Number one, go dig your holes in advance. Take a day or two and go pre-dig your holes. Prep the ground, have your hole ready, have it bare, open. If you do that, it's going to save you a lot of aggravation and pain and time. Number 2, I would highly recommend when you do this, dig your holes roughly 12 to 18 inches in depth, roughly 12-inch diameter. I say this because every tree is different. A hole needs to be dug to the size of the tree that you're planting. When you go and research your trees, you'll understand and see what I'm talking about. Even if you go to a store, you'll see there's little pots, there's big pots. It totally depends on the age of the tree. The older the tree, the bigger the root wad. The younger the tree, the smaller the root wad. It's a very simple proposition. That being said, I would pre-dig your holes, have that all prepared. Additionally, when you go to plant, I would highly recommend having like some bagged topsoil, some of the bagged even manure. You can use manure from a farm. You want to mix some good soil with some manure to give your trees whenever you plant them. And again, this goes back to the soil samples because you need to know and understand this. That you want to give it a little shot of nutrients, but you don't want to be putting too much. So that's why I stress the fact you need to know your soil samples and understand what you're putting down. If your soil is really good and rich, You do not need to be adding bunches of manure or fertilizers, etc. So again, what you do in that capacity, I think, is very important. Soil conditions. If you're in a spot that has a lot of clay or things like that, I like to actually take even a little bit of sand and I'll actually mix that in with my soil for my hole. It gives the roots just an easier path to get started. That first year is critical. I'm a firm believer the sooner you can get the trees in the ground, even like this time of the year. I have an order for the first week of March, which is next week. This is the last week of February. I'm digging my holes actually today. It's a rainy day, but I'm still going out this afternoon. And tomorrow I'll wrap it up. I'll have all my holes pre-dug. Additionally, at each hole, I put a little bit of manure for me to use whenever I do my plantings. I will take some soil with me as well, so I have some fresh, loose soil. It just makes life so much easier. Additionally, this is very, very, very important. I recommend either hay or straw or even tree mats around the base of the tree. It just helps with the weed control, kind of keeping that down. But when you do that, it is very, very important that you have some form of a tree wrap. Now, what's a tree wrap? A tree wrap, if you go and look them up, it could be anything. There's so many different variations from different types of like almost conduit, netting, screen, you name it. There's a wide variety of options for tree wraps. There are numerous reasons you need tree wraps. I'm going to start off with the smallest reason. And the smallest reason can be mice and rabbits. Mice and rabbits will literally, especially in the wintertime, they will gnaw on the bark at the bottom just because these trees are very sweet, high in nutritional value, and they just flat out have like a sugary taste to them. So it's very enticing to wildlife. So you need some type of a tree wrap, tree protector for that, for the your main trunk of your tree. That is so important. Additionally, the other threat is deer potentially rubbing on the tree. Now, take that. I try to then do another thing where I then take some fencing. I invest some money. I'll buy a roll of 5 foot tall, 2-inch by 3-inch fencing. And I will cut it at 10 foot lengths, 8 to 10 foot lengths, typically 8 foot. Cut it at 8 foot. You wrap it around a tree. You take usually 2 or 3 T-posts, and then I'll either zip tie it or wire it. So basically, I have a good hole, good soil, the appropriate hole depth. You do not want to go too deep, and you don't want to be too shallow. It is very critical when you plant a tree that you want to make sure, especially on a fruit tree, you do not want to waste the money, the time, the effort, etc., on everything we just talked about to put a tree in the ground where it's too shallow. If it's too shallow and you run into, let's just say, a drought very early in the spring, you're going to be out there taking buckets of water every day to try to keep that thing alive. And it's very important that you go to appropriate hole depths. You do not want the soil going up the main trunk of the tree 4 or 5 inches too high. That'll cause the base of the tree to rot. You don't want that either. Very critical. And it's when you look at the roots, where the roots obviously come out of the trunk, it's very easy to see. You'll be able to tell at the blatant eye of where your mark is, and you can typically tell where they had dirt, from where they dug it up, coming from the hatchery or the orchard rather. So the things you need on hand to do these tasks, I want to start from the beginning. Soil sample. Know where you want to plant, identify where you want to plant, know the goals of what you want, and then accordingly buy trees that are going to achieve those goals. Everyone's different. Every goal is different. Every property is different. So you need to research what's going to fit your needs. You need a shovel to dig your holes. You're going to need a little bit of, I would recommend fresh soil or some good topsoil. I highly recommend a little bit of manure. You can even buy the cheap stuff from like an outdoor store where they have like the bagged manure. That always is even good. I have stockpiles at the farm, so that's what I use. There's not a right or wrong answer with that. It's what you have access to. But again, you don't want to use too much of one thing without knowing or understanding your soil samples. You need to know what's the condition of the soil and what you should or shouldn't do moving forward. You need to have some type of a tree wrap. I cannot stress to you enough that the smallest of creatures can cause devastating damage. So just keeping mice and rabbits, groundhogs away from the base of your tree is a big time thing, and it's something you should do. Some type of a mat, whether that's hay, straw, whether you want to buy a mat, it helps keep the moisture down around the base of the tree. I think that is critically important for the first, I would say, year at a very minimum, to keep moisture content around those roots. Additionally, I highly cannot stress this enough. I highly recommend, because of deer damages, if you have deer, which I'm sure you do, or I'm sure you're eventually going to want to draw deer, you definitely need to fence your trees in. 8 foot of fencing, 5 foot high. You do just a round circle, some T-post, tie it up. You're good. You're good to go. That being said, when you go and plant your tree, you need to take some water with you. 5-gallon buckets, put a lid on it, take it out into the field. Very important that when you put your trees in the ground that you are, look, it does not hurt to take that little bit of extra effort, make sure the soil's good and moist. Maybe you're in a situation like today here in southwestern Pennsylvania, we have it's downpouring. If you go and plant these trees and you know that you're going to get a 2-day just downpour, well, then you're not so much succumb to that conversation. But these are things you need to consider and understand. Highly, highly, highly recommend, if you're going to do a springtime planting, you have to understand something. If you plant in the spring, so I want to dive into this, the difference between spring plantings and fall plantings. Spring is go time. Spring is the plants are coming back to life. And when plants come back to life, they need water. They need water, they need sunlight, they need nutrients, etc. So I cannot stress this enough to you. If you do want to do a spring planting, the earlier of an opportunity that you have to get plants into the ground, the better. Why do I say that? Because especially with the way that it's been a little warmer this winter, these trees are going to start to bud earlier. These trees will bloom earlier, and when they do that, they start consuming water. If you wait and leave it in the pot too long, too late, one, you're going to have to deal with watering them, because if you don't, they'll die. 2, if you wait too long to get them into the field, like let's hypothetically say you wait till early May. Early May is too late. There's an old adage that if it ends in an R, that's a month that you would want to plant a tree. So May, June, July, August, definitely not months that I would recommend planting trees, because if you do, you are going to get stuck in watering the trees, and if you don't, they'll die. It's just point blank. That is 1,000% what will happen. So with what I'm doing, I'm trying to get these trees in the ground the first 2 weeks of March, so that way they have all March, all April, where it's typically a wet time here in Pennsylvania, and it'll give them adequate opportunity to get a good start for the, we'll call it spring, summer months, to take off and get a good foundation for the future. That's critical. I cannot stress to you enough how important what I just said is that the earlier you can get them in the ground the right way, you do not, and why I say the earlier the right way, okay, let's just hypothetically say that you go next week and plant some trees and you do not put the roots at the appropriate depth. You get lazy and you're like, oh, I'm just going to dig this hole 6 inches and just lay these roots sideways. And then we go and get a cold snap where it's down to 10, 15 degrees. If those roots are not in an adequate base and they freeze, in a capacity that they're not meant to, there is a potential that that tree could die. Is that something you want to happen? I certainly think you don't want to waste your money and just flush it down the drain. So again, I can't stress to you enough, knowing your root depths, knowing the size of the tree, knowing how big of a hole you need. Take the time when you're laying this plan out in your head, or I would recommend even writing it down, especially through the first time. But all these trees are going to give you 9 times out of 10, all these trees they come with recommendations. pH levels, what they like, what they don't like, the the amount of sun during a day, what the recommendations are there. Trust me, there's trees that you do not want to plant in Pennsylvania. There's trees that you don't want to plant in the southern part of the United States. This is why the research part of it is so important. You need to know what you're getting into. Now let's talk about the fall. I like to do spring plantings and I like to do fall plantings for multiple reasons. One is you're always going to succumb to, at some capacity, a tree's going to die along the way, especially the first couple years, because that's the hardest time. It's a juvenile tree. You're dealing with it is what it is. I hate to say that. I mean, you have to accept and expect the fact that you're never going to get 100% return. You're always going to have some form of a loss. So what I like to do is I always like to expand. Every spring I do a handful. This year I'm doing 12 apples, and I'm doing a variety of apples, and I'm doing 16 elderberries. I will come back in the fall. Any trees that I can blatantly see are dead, I will change them out. I typically do this September. The trees at that time are starting to go dormant, and they need minimal to no water at that time of the year. Basically, their leaves are getting ready to drop. At that time, they're basically getting ready to go to sleep for the winter. I'm a big, firm believer that if you can plant that time of the year, you're definitely saving yourself the risk of a drought or something along those lines, to where you're concerned that the trees could potentially die. Planting in the fall is certainly a benefit, but even in the fall, I still like to have the trees watered. I still like to have them to plan like when I know a rain is coming. And if a rain isn't coming, I would caution you even then. If it looks like there's going to be a 2-week drought, you would be much better served to just keep the tree in a pot and water it for 2 weeks, and wait till you have a window where you can see some rain coming, because it just is what it is. When you have good moist soil for the tree, it's just better for it. But fall is definitely a safer bet in my opinion. But no matter what time of the year, you need to plant at the right times. You need to know where to plant, really make your planting plan through the duration of the year. Be observant of your surroundings. If you're seeing that, there are some damages or whatnot, maybe you see some broken limbs, well, hey, maybe deer are getting their heads over the fencing. Maybe you need to have a little bit higher fencing. I recommend 5 foot. In some capacities, you might want to do 6, depending on the layout of the tree. I've seen deer many times get right up to a tree and they'll snap a limb right off. They'll try to grab it in the winter to try to eat the bud right off of the tree. This happens a lot. These are things you should look for. Again, look at the tree. A healthy tree is a blatantly obvious thing. When you start getting trees that have marks on them, trees that have snapped limbs, and potentially there's even disease. Sometimes this happens, a blight, something might come through. There are things at times that you can do, but you need to just be like watching. You just can't plant and ignore. You kind of have to baby them until they're more, I would say, in an adult cycle, which is, I would say, 3 to 5 years. I have trees that I planted. This will be the 3rd year. So I had my first production last year from some of those trees. This year they should fully produce. So I'm really excited to see that kind of grow and expand. This is a tool or tools for your arsenal, whether that's, again, farm production, whether you're looking to use it for the the production just for wildlife and for hunting purposes, I cannot stress enough, trees are amazing. Wildlife will come to trees. Obviously, everybody loves apples and different peaches and pears and all that kind of stuff. But if you do not prepare for proper installation, knowing where you should and shouldn't plant, understanding that wildlife will undoubtedly destroy your investment, you need to just understand, take the time, do some research on the internet. It does not, what's the big deal? A lot of us have modernized phones. Get on your phone, do some research. What kind of trees do you want? What's your budget? What do you want to spend? Do your research on the size, the quantities. When do you want these things to produce? Are you wanting a tree to produce in 2 years, or do you not care if it's 5 years down the road? These are just things that you need to think about. You need to ask yourself these questions, because the only person that's going to be able to answer them is you. I think that an orchard is an amazing thing. I'm loving the experience of continuing to invest into them, to see that the return, to see the benefits of the hard work, to see the production. When I saw my first apples, it was just like, I don't know, just an amazing experience, because to know that, we'd been putting in this work and effort all this time, and then to see, the production, it was just like, wow, this is awesome. But I cannot stress to you enough, it's an enjoyable experience. It's a fun experience. It's something that you can get tangible benefits from. But you have to know and understand that there's a lot you can do to make this happen. But you have to take the time to understand your soil, understand where to plant, understand when to plant, buy the appropriate trees for your property, for your part of the United States. And you need to install them accordingly. You need to water them accordingly. You need to give them proper nutrition. And last but not least, you need to secure them properly. And when I say secure them, that would be protection from ground mats. That's protection with, I would say, tree trunk coverings. That would be exterior protection when it comes to deer and other wildlife. It might seem like a lot, and probably the first time it is. For me, it was like, man, this is such a pain in the rear. But once you kind of get in a groove and have a better understanding of what you need to do, how you need to do it, it just becomes so much easier. I sincerely mean that. It's a much more enjoyable experience. You're not going to be disappointed. I firmly believe that. And if you can do it every spring, every fall, heck, even if you just plant 4 trees, you figure, even if you go and buy a nice tree in the fall at a store, you're going to spend around $40 to $50. So if you do that, even at once a fall, you're talking $200 investment. You're going to have another, probably, I'm going to say $100 tied up in the fence for those 4 trees, plus the posts, and then your time. So let's just say 4 trees is roughly $300 to $400 by the time you add it all up with the investment for protection, for installation, so on and so forth. You really, if you do a comparative analysis to that over the life of that tree and the production, compared to, let's just say, installing food plots, which have to be typically changed out or replanted every 3 to 5 years max. These are just things that you need to know and understand. Orchards are, in my opinion, a long-term, invaluable asset. They're something that you should invest into. They should be part of your farm/wildlife management opportunity. To have something that's a renewable resource that comes back every year is certainly much cheaper than having to do or install food plots or annual plots on a more annual, semi-annual, even 3-year basis. So these are just things for you to know and understand, that there are even financial benefits to doing what I'm saying. Clearly, if you're going to be utilizing trees in this capacity for human consumption, and you're going to be, pulling and selling, Clearly, a lot of the nutrition is going to be taken from the ground. So there's a lot more fertilizer, a need for fertilizer on an annual basis to get the ground and the trees the appropriate nutrition. A lot of times, when you're just utilizing it for hunting and even just personal use, a lot of the apples or whatnot go back into the ground. They'll either rot. A lot of them get eaten and then turn back into waste and drop back into the ground. So there's not as much of a need for the fertilizer as you would see during, I would say, an agricultural farming, big production type thing. But these are just things for you to know and consider for the future. I know anybody that ever wants to see how this is done, you can come to Wild Acres. I'd be happy to show you. I'll be doing it next week, actually. I'm working on digging holes today and tomorrow. But with that being said, I just want to, again, thank the Marianna Outdoorsman Association. You can join the MOA at MariannaOutdoors.com. Come check out Wild Acres Farm, Fishery, and Regulated Hunting Grounds. You can go to 10mileco.org, or you can call us at 724-579-0924. And last but not least, I'd like to give a shout out to Washington County. Please visit Washington County, Pennsylvania today. The Washington County Tourism and Promotion Agency has been a huge asset and promoter of Washington County, businesses, small businesses, so on and so forth. But for this week, I hope you enjoyed the discussion on orchards and orchard growing, planning, and development. I'm Jason White. This is The Great Outdoors. You have a great day, week, and I'll see you all next week.